You mentioned the importance of Indigenous knowledge, and I'm going to pass the baton now to Don Martin-Hill and pose a question. What would First Nations, Métis, Inuit nations need to advance water security for their territories? And I know that you're going to speak as well as you've got a presentation.
I hope I have a presentation. There it is. So thank you for inviting me, and I'll try to answer that question in 5 minutes. And Yahweh to Elder Commanda for her words this morning. We really need those. I want to talk about bringing life forth from the water, and that is called Haudenosaunee Women's Water Law in the spirit of the True Wampum, which is a wampum agreement we made between the Haudenosaunee Nation and the newcomers. So here's our framework and some of the highlights that I wanted to draw out in terms of the way Haudenosaunee are bringing interdisciplinary climate change adaptation, water security through a First Nations lens. So the design you see is on a turtle's back, and the climate change data that we, is like all the other data, it has dire consequences for our culture, for our community at Six Nations. We need to begin developing mitigation measures, and this type of data and research helps us to do that within a Haudenosaunee lens. Again, we do a number of projects. We have 4 with Global Water Futures, and I just wanted to highlight some of the positives because there's just a lot of negative right now. Maternal wellness, we found, as identified by the community, was a great concern, and for good reason. So the study demonstrated that, in fact, women's maternal and child health has dire consequences when they do not have access to clean water. And we also developed a Haudenosaunee wellness model to design the way our research team would conduct mental health, maternal health, physical health, and cultural well-being. And we draw from our Haudenosaunee Ganyo for that. The other frameworks that we've been designing on top of this one go along with the other science teams who are trying to apply a framework that we've developed. It's not the United Nations framework, but I think that we hit a number of ways of capacity building, using storytelling, using technology, using apps to tell all the findings, because the community needs to have this information accessible. The children need to have capacity building technologies that resonate with them. And if you download that QR code, you can see a 13-minute version of our Sky World where all our teachings about water come from, all the way to how to do water testing as you journey down the Grand River and hopefully claim a lot of veranda and power as you try to mitigate the impacts of climate change on our river. So taking data and putting in a style that's community designed, I did not want to do a VR, but I am. Is part of the training. We want to do water treatment plant operator simulations so that we can get our people certified to run these water treatment plants. We need to be able to put our young people's voices and elevate them because they're going to inherit this mess that we've handed to them. And we're sharing science data, we're sharing elder stories, technology, art, song, dance, through our award-winning podcast that our youth are leading. The kids in our schools are developing our mapping, and they're doing mapping of waterways, technology, GIS, and they're getting certified from McMaster for university credit. We're also sharing co-creation examples with graduate students who are, this whole team is being run by graduate students. So these kinds of co-creating of knowledges to mitigate climate change and ensure water security futures for the next generation is really important, but we need sustainability, and getting grants on top of being a mom and having 9 grandchildren and teaching 4 courses. When he said in academia, and I'm like, yeah, okay, this is full-time, 24/7, and it's not sustainable. We need support. We've designed a number of ways in which we can work together. We have beautiful teams from across Canada of scientists, hydrologists, engineers, civil scientists, biologists, and the whole gamut, and we're all working together, but we're doing it on top of our regular jobs. What we want to pay attention to is groundwater. Our elders have already identified groundwater as the breast milk for human beings and only human beings, and it's not being cared for very well. We need to preserve it and conserve it. We need to do way more on wastewater. Six Nations is not water secure, but yet we're not on any list of boiled water advisories when in fact many homes don't even have running water. So we need to deal with the bigger issue, the source water, and doing this to achieve sustainable development goals by capacity building, making sure women are running the entire project from ground to dissemination is part of our project. Every single team lead is Indigenous or Haudenosaunee. and we're working really well together with our partners, with the men. In a matriarchal society, that's how it goes, as our team is learning. So we're doing really well, but we need support. Without a Canadian Water Agency that truly supports Indigenous sciences, arts, technologies, we will not be able to sustain in this level of 24/7. It's not fair to anyone. And in honoring the two-row wampum, it would be really good to have an agency, whether it's called an Indigenous Arts Technology Institute within the Canadian Water Agency or whoever, but you need to do more. You need to do better. As Indigenous people, we know how to do this. We've looked after our water and our lands for thousands of years. In the last 100, they've been completely decimated and contaminated, so we don't have clean drinking water. It's only right that reconciliation happens by offering Indigenous people a lead role in the Canadian Water Agency, not a marginal role, but a lead role, and that our science, the way we want to do things, is finally acknowledged, because we've always had science. We've always had science, engineering, irrigation, agriculture, medicine. You've been taught something different. We know how to do this. We need to lead, and we need to be given the resources and the stability and the structure to do so. So I support Canada in trying to do better, to create a better water policy, and to ensure First Nations have a water-secure future. Thank you, Nyawe Danito.